Space, the final frontier. Let's see what's out there. Engage.
Hello and good evening for this Tuesday. What month is it, Jane?
June
4th, 2024. Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 3 is over. The title The Naked Now, and it has been since 1987. And we're here to break it all down here at Live Long and Podcast for our second podcast here in the Star Trek The Next Generation review show. And we got a new panel here. Well, Adam was with us last week, but first up, a man who hasn't been here in 932 days. It's Ted Mater, my dad.
I'm back.
He's back, and he's here to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation. And he's on his phone, and this was not cleared with the technical department before the podcast, so all interference in the audio feed is apologized for in advance. Also, next up is my better half, my wife, Jane Mater, coming to us from the next room.
Hello. Thanks for
Hello.
having me on the show, Dave Mater.
Thanks for coming, Jane. Yes, and you're okay. And then last up we have the man with all the facts. It's Adam Woodward.
Hey guys, and great to see you, Ted, again. And Jane, always good to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I believe Adam, your wife Callie, will be joining us in a short time.
Yep.
But so it'll be five of us here tonight to talk about The Naked Now.
We will share a screen though, so we're going to be good.
Yeah, Jane didn't want to share the limelight with me. She said, "No, I can't. I need my own camera. I need my own room. I can't be second fiddle to you."
Well, I normally am on the camera with the radio show, but I'm just this little person to the side, so I wanted to be a full person tonight. I said,
Looks good.
You want to be a real person tonight,
I'm
although
a real person.
I don't love
He
that.
doesn't like it.
I don't like that. I don't like your microphone. It's like a weird.
My work microphone.
You got a lot of audio problems tonight.
Yeah, all caused by fellow maters. But but here to break it all down. Of course, this is a live stream here on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. We got, of course, the great Sam Higdon with us. You know, he's saying the man, the myth, the legend, the GOAT is back. He's talking about you, Dad.
Who said that?
Sam from Newfoundland.
Oh.
Of course. We got Norman with us again, and he's saying, how many multiple techniques out of 10 is this episode? Because, of course, it is fully functional. And Sam wants to know, will you be on more reviews this season? Well, Sam, I will answer that with if he can get a laptop and not try to do it on his phone. And maybe if you got some earphones, that would also be good too.
Yeah, I can get some.
Sam's saying we're also bringing it old school with Jane and Dave in different rooms, which didn't work so bad in the old school.
The first generation of Star Trek technology.
Yes, you're still in the original series technology
Yes.
on a flip communicator. So I guess that's a with. So we're breaking this all down. Of course, my dad and Adam and I were all part of the and Jody were part of the Star Trek the original series podcast review that we wrapped up a couple of years ago. Started during COVID, and we did all 79 original series episodes. And so when we got to Star Trek the Next Generation, I asked my dad to come in and be part of this one, and more in particular on the episodes that maybe call back to the original series more, because I thought that those might connect with you a bit, Dad. So I guess I want to start with you tonight. I don't think you had ever watched this episode before, right? The Naked Now?
No,
so until recently. So what did you think of it? Hi, Callie.
Hi.
All right.
Welcome.
That was quite interesting, Dave. pretty good. All in all, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, did you pick up that it was a sequel to The Naked Time from the Star Trek?
I knew it was a sequel to one of them, but I couldn't remember which one.
You know, the one where Sulu's running around with a shirt off and a sword.
Yes, yeah.
You know, and all that.
They all got infected.
Infected, much like in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, of course, joining us for the first time on the podcast is Callie Woodward. And maybe I should update your little caption there.
Oh, that's okay.
There you go.
Thanks.
Just a few types of the fingers. So, Callie, I'd like to go to you next. What did you think of The Naked Now?
I like this episode. I think it's kind of neat. You know, I like following the different characters and seeing what's happening, and I especially like the interaction between Data and Tasha.
Data and Tasha, of course, yes, their secret affair, but it ends up becoming very significant throughout. Well, for Data in particular, but for both of them. Dad, I don't know if you remember. Well, spoilers, I guess, if you haven't seen season 1 yet. We are going to kind of reference some things, but Tasha Yar goes on to die later this season. In when she leaves the show. I don't know. Did you know about that, Dad?
Yeah, she got shot, didn't she, Dave?
She got killed by a big oil monster.
Yeah,
he's such a weird,
oil slick,
like an oil slick thing. Aramis, the skin of evil, I believe. But yeah, this connection between Data and Tasha Yar is introduced right in the second episode here. You think it'd be a little further down, but it's right off the bat they throw this into the mix of the show. But there's also not just Data and Tasha, but there's also Picard and Beverly are sort of got the flirts going on here, Jane. Just the other day, Jane was saying, "I'm a woman and I haven't had the comfort of a husband lately." And I was like, "Well, come right here, honey.
I'm a woman. I haven't had the comfort of a husband. A man.
Man, that must have been in Brantford this weekend, right?
Yeah,
And you're so busy with hockey.
Correct. Is that what you're like? I need the comfort of a husband. All that. Is that what you were saying, Jane?
No.
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 Okay. Well.
Sorry.
All right. Well,
Next
Jane,
time.
what's your favorite part of this episode?
I like this episode. I like all TNG that are kind of have a mystery to them. I like this one and it's a little silly. I know it's not perfect. I know it's first season. They haven't quite worked it all out yet, but I find it really rewatchable and memorable. I like the tie back a bit to the original series. So yeah.
You like that tie
That's why I
back?
wanted to- yeah, because I was excited. Again, I watched the original series when I was young, and I like the connection between the two.
What about that whole part where Picard has that horny laugh?
He's pretty sexy, so I can't ever turn down anything coming from Picard. So
Okay.
well,
That's what he
that
says.
little Wesley though, he should have been taken out and beaten.
Yeah, Wesley Crusher gets off pretty light here in this episode as he takes over engineering and he gets them all killed. Of course, he's intoxicated with this, what do they call it? Like polywater or something? Or I don't know.
polywater, polymolecule water or something like that.
Right. But basically it makes them all drunk, but even more than just normal drunk. It makes them hot. And sometimes it makes them freeze themselves. The crew that they end up finding here in the beginning of the episode, who are all dead, have frozen themselves with the environmental controls. I guess that would have happened here. But I guess we haven't heard much from Adam yet. I want to talk to Adam about The Naked Now. There's no nakedness in it, really. Well, there's a little bit.
There is actually nakedness in it. If you look at the frozen crew members on the other ship, they are pretty naked.
Yeah, well, because one of them is in the shower, right? When they're found, maybe. By
But I
Jordan?
think it was more of the gathering in that one crew's quarters that was,
It's
definitely.
fully clothed in the shower, Dave. Is it
Oh,
not?
so
Yeah,
you
but all the
mean
other
like those
people were
people we see, like you do see somebody without a shirt on, at least.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean that implies that they were all, it was sort of like a little bit of a orgy going on in that room, because clearly, with the with the virus or whatever it was, there was some lack of inhibitions going on, and people were willing to do much with their fellow crew members. So anyway, I really like this episode, and I'm kind of enjoying going back to season 1 now because we're pretty hard on it. I think it's getting its feet wet. It's new. We're comparing it to an original series at that point, but to do this in the second episode, really, because Counterpoint for our point was 1 and 2, so the third one, I guess, was pretty bold, and honestly, I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure there's some, what's his name, Gene Roddenberry would have liked to take it further than he could have.
Dave, do you know who wrote this episode?
Good question. This episode, if you would let me type it into the computer, The Naked Now was written by John D.F. Black and J. Michael Bingham, with a teleplay by J. Michael Bingham. So not too familiar with those writers, actually. That's I don't know how many episodes they did after this, but yeah, like okay, a couple of things stood out to me. It's 1987. It's pretty sexy, especially with the Tasha Yar dress part. Was this pretty standard for first run syndication television back in 1987?
Sorry, Dave. Before you go on, I see a Dorothy Fontana collaboration here as well. So,
I think that this might be like a pen name. I think like one of these might be a fake name.
Okay.
For her, because she didn't like. I don't think she liked how it turned out, and she said, "Give me." Is this one of those? So the episode was written by DC Fontana under the pseudonym of J. Michael Bingham.
Okay.
Of course, DC Fontana also wrote on Star Trek, the original series. I don't know if she wrote on The Naked Time, but back when we reviewed The Naked Time, I gave that was back on the original series. I gave that an 8.5, but my dad only gave that a 5.9 at the time. We lost my dad, and
I'm still here.
Are you still here? Adam gave it a 6.
I don't know.
At the time.
I haven't watched it probably since then, like 2020. I can't really comment on it. I can't remember it that well.
Well, it seems like you were kind of lukewarm on it at the time.
Yeah.
At the very least. And yeah, like I don't know. I personally think this episode's actually better than I remembered it.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty strong, as a something. I think I like it better than the pilot in some ways,
There's more character development. Like I think they put a lot in there, and there's hints of all the like these there's hints on the pre-existing relationships, right? Like you said, between the Picard and the Doctor, and then Will and Deanna as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I think I don't know. I think I liked it better too, actually.
Deanna calls him Bill in this episode.
Yeah.
The one and only time.
Mm-hmm.
She calls him Bill. Kind of throws me off. Yeah. So, but the other thing that kind of strikes me in the episode is it feels the ship feels a little bit empty. I'm like, there's maybe 1,000 people on this ship, and it seems like, do they all get intoxicated and sort of, something going on with them, or it's kind of unclear to me. You don't see any of the children get this affliction on the well, other than Wesley, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but they're
Maybe
present.
they didn't want to go with drunk children, so
They didn't want to go with drunk children, so I guess that was maybe a good move.
Or naked children.
Naked children, naked children orgies.
No, that will be none of that.
Shut down.
Yeah, it was shut down here. Norman pointed out that Tasha is being very sexy this episode. Syndicated risque, is his implication here. I think maybe so. Let's get into it, guys, with our screenshots and run through the various things. So the Enterprise comes along here for their first mission. We get a captain's log. This episode very much in the style of an original series opening, and I guess the closing of the episode also feels much in that vein, as the crew is heading towards the what's this ship called? Like the SS Sikovsky, yeah, a science vessel that's looking at this super giant star. And then they're hearing this this audio come through over the distress call. Hello, Enterprise. Let's have it.
Hello, Enterprise. Welcome. I hope you have a lot of pretty boys on board, because I'm willing and waiting. In fact, we're going to have a real blowout here.
So whoever that was, I guess, blew out the hatch on the bridge and not sucked them out into space, pushed them out into space. Thank you, David, for that scientific clarification. Yeah. Hello, Enterprise. You have any pretty boys on board, willing and ready? It gets into it. But just then, we hear an explosion, and Data says this is impossible. A hatch has been blown out, a decompression of the bridge. So Picard sends Riker and the away team off to the ship. We get a little shot of it here. It's an Oberth class ship. It's, I guess, the first appearance of an Oberth class ship in this universe. I don't think we saw it in the original series of the movies before that. And they beam over there. Of course, they're using I guess redresses of the TNG set, of the Enterprise set, in some cases. Data says, looks like what humans would call a wild party here. As they find the monitor and they start looking at the things, and then they find that the image of the bridge that had been blown out into space, not blown out, pushed out, maybe. Geordi, meanwhile, is looking around, and this is where they find all the frozen people who have been afflicted. So they had messed with the environmental controls, maybe because they felt so hot, and they just let themselves freeze to death slowly here, is what happened. I guess these are the naked people you're referring to, Adam. Yeah. They do look pretty naked.
Mhm.
So I watched the Naked Time after this today. And it was funny. There's one scene where there's clearly one of those people that are frozen that was a mannequin. Like they didn't bother to dress up a person, obviously here, but this was like
It was the
clearly a
60s. They didn't know,
mannequin
Jane.
from Sears.
They had it invented. It was different back then. So anyway, Geordi finds somebody, I guess, in the shower here who collapses on him, and this is where he gets infected. I guess this was a Starfleet ship, right? Even though they don't say USS Sikorsky, they say SS. But yeah, you see, it seems like Geordi's been infected here. He becomes patient 0 for the Enterprise, and Riker says, "Picard, they're all dead, Captain. They're all dead." And that is our cold open for this episode. We come back after that. Our title card, The Naked Now, playing off The Naked Time. And Picard, comes in and says, "Well, what is your science telling you, Doctor?" And I guess Deanna's here for other reasons to help out. And but Dr. Crusher has no theories yet. It's all kind of speculative. So they check out the away team when they come back. Data is the peak of Android technology. He says as much. He boasts a little, to which this might have offended. Dad, stop fidgeting. Okay. Anyway, and so Geordi starts getting tested here, and we start to see that he's perspiring a lot. And then he gets a little belligerent with Dr. Crusher. Well, why don't you turn it down in here or make it less hot? Anyway, that's quite the smile, eh? So back on the bridge, they're Dr. Crusher's working on a theory, but they're keeping Geordi in the sickbay for now until they can figure this out. Of course, a security guard or some kind of quarantine measures might be in order, but
Exactly. But
we don't have time for that. So then Riker goes to the bridge to talk to Data, who Data's working on because Riker's like, I think I remember reading about somebody in the shower or something. I can't remember. Can you look this up? And Data's like, this is going to take hours just to kind of vaguely look up what you might be looking for.
did you find that long though? I'm like, hours really? It's Data. I just would have expected it to be.
It does seem like an overestimation.
80.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they're just trying to really. I mean, again, we don't know Data here yet, and we just met him last week. So if you think about, you're right. I think they could have made it quicker because later in the episode they show something he does extraordinarily quick, right? But
yeah, it's kind of like, okay, but Riker, basically the point is Riker puts Data sort of on the investigation, which will come back later. And then back in sickbay, Dr. Crusher is working on Geordi again. If he is infected, touching him. Where are the masks? Where's the social distancing happening here?
We didn't know, Dave. It was the 80s.
We didn't know. It was the 80s. It wasn't invented yet.
I think she has just too much trust in the decontamination, like maybe through the, it's too modern. Like I saw on the Naked Time, they were down there, Spock and the other dude with had the suits on because they knew something was up. Like they obviously even knew better to go when something's weird happening somewhere to not go in with no protection. So
So why was
the
there no
technology
protection?
too much?
It was the 80s, Dad. They didn't know yet.
Yeah, but still, I mean, holy cow.
So the theory, Ted, is that the transporters will screen out any contaminants.
Oh, okay.
But they didn't work.
Okay.
So anyway, Dr. Crusher's working on it. She goes to her office, right? And there's no other doctors. There's no other staff present.
There's no nurses, nothing.
Let's see what this Galaxy class ship can do that has apparently no crew yet, or a very skeleton crew. So Geordi just gets up, takes off his communicator, and leaves.
Sorry, wait. Before you go on here, this is the theme. It starts right here with no security on the Enterprise whatsoever.
Yeah. Chief of Security Tasha Yar can be attributed to this. This is before Worf is running things. Anyway, so Geordi goes off, and then Crusher comes back. What happened to my patient? He's gone.
Yeah.
So she calls up to the bridge and lets Captain Picard and Tasha Yar know, like, let's do a ship-wide search, which apparently does not include Wesley Crusher's quarters, which is where the only place which is where Geordi is. This is where he goes to hang out with Wesley.
Well, he takes his communicator off too.
But couldn't they just send out a shipwide announcement? Hey, anyone see
all
the
hear
forge?
this. All hear this. That's what comes up later in the episode when Crusher impersonates Captain Picard, and puts him in charge. So it's possible to do a shipwide announcement, but apparently Wesley's not involved in this, and so he's showing off his tractor beam emitter to Geordi in his quarters, which I guess is impressive. We never see this technology come back in Star Trek, like these portable tractor beams, but I think that they would be kind of neat to use in different scenarios and different missions. I think they should re-explore this. Anyway, maybe a less, a more portable version of that, a little easier to wield, but it's a prototype. Come on. And we see here, we see Wesley shows off his little voice simulator. He says, I've taken little clips from Captain Picard so I can make him say anything. Of course, now in the, in 2024, we can just clone voices with AI technology.
Yeah.
But back then it was more like, no, the future we'll have a yak back sort of database, and we'll be able to say it all. And this is also where Geordi infects Wesley with the drunkenness, and he's and then he leaves him off here. He says, "Are you okay, Geordi?" No, not really. Which then somehow Geordi, who everyone on the ship is looking for, then goes from Wesley's quarters up to the observation lounge, which is adjacent to the bridge, where he runs into Tasha here, and Tasha. Can see that he's not quite right. I do like her. I think she handles this, the way that it's written and the way that Denise Crosby plays it is pretty good. Where she's like, I'm a security officer, not a doctor or a counselor, but she's like, okay, no, I'll try to help you. I'll try to be there for you. And says, I want to be able to see like you do. And he's kind of, he's a little bit, I don't know.
He's a sad drunk.
He's a sad drunk.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought someone said on one of your podcasts recently, I just quickly heard that he had a choice to have surgery at one point, but he chose to keep this vision because it gave him more abilities. But I guess he couldn't go exactly back to human sight. But
no, and he said last week in the pilot that he could take this thing gives him headaches, like having the visor gives him basically migraines all the time, and he could take like painkillers, but it would actually diminish the effectiveness of his visor, so he chooses to live with the pain. So chew on that. And also in real life, LeVar Burton had this thing screwed into his head, and it actually did cause him pain all the time he was wearing it. So it's not much. It's kind of method acting, really, except for these scenes where he has like the blinking lights on. But he ends up, of course, touching Tasha's face here and infecting her as he is kind of taken off, by the security guard here. Then Tasha talks to the captain about it, that he's not right. I think this is where they figure out he's got this drunkenness thing and that he's not right. Meanwhile,
she is it here saying, clearly something slipped through, and it's this, whatever infected the Sea of Coffee is now on board.
This is happening, and we need to figure this out. So Data and Riker are looking at the database, looking at the store.
Does the screen normally look green and black like that?
No,
Or did they change? Because it looks pretty Borg to me. Like I'm wondering. I'm like, that looks like Borg. So maybe they changed that later seasons.
Sometimes you see this green text on the black background, yes, but it's later in later seasons they don't use it at all. It's more the early seasons that they were kind of using it. Plus, it's kind of framed with that L-Cars thing, but it does look a little bit. I don't know. It doesn't look great, I guess is the only way I can put it.
We were only DOS.
Yeah, we were only 5 years out of DOS at this point.
It was the 80s. We didn't know that there would one day be color.
Yes, DOS.
It does look like DOS.
Yeah, it was DOS. And they kind of figure out that this goes back to the original series and to all that stuff with the Constitution class.
Constitution class Starship Enterprise, Captain James T. Kirk, commanding.
Yeah, they give Picard the goods because Riker remembers he read about this, reading about the other ships named Enterprise. Now, at this point, I don't think they knew how much further in the future Picard was, and they just said, "Well, that was decades ago." But it's more like almost 100 years ago in reality between the original series and this
that's
show.
decades ago.
It's 10 decades ago.
In their world.
A century would also be a way of saying it.
Yeah.
But it's not inaccurate. You're correct. You could say decades. And so send this to medical. Let's send this down to Beverly Crusher and send her goods. Obviously, Doc McCoy. He came up with the cure back then. We just have to administer that again. So let's get on it, Crusher, and get that out of there. Meanwhile, Troy goes to her quarters. I don't remember her quarters looking like this throughout the rest of the show. They were kind of different in this episode, with this, even just like the walls and like the lighting and some of the furniture. But anyway, who does she find going through her things? But Tasha Yar. Saying whatever, and she's like, "Don't I look good in this? You always look so good." And I just like how Troy's like,
"It's not for you.
Not for you. It's not for you, Tasha.
Don't touch my clothes.
Yeah, don't touch my stuff. Well, that's okay. The ship's stores will have it. I'm like, there are stores, like actual.
That's what I thought too. I'm like, stores,
like with merchants and like something like that. But that's what we're told as and of course Tasha infects Troy in the process of this and leaves her with the infection. So then back on the bridge, so Picard and company are told by Troy, "Hey, Tasha's got this." I think she says infection, and then I think Picard corrects her and says, "No, it's more like a drunkenness." Well, whatever it is, Troy says she has it. Okay, no problem. But they kind of forget about that for a while. It feels like.
So she's just wandering around the ship with it.
She's potentially infecting everybody, which is kind of what happens.
Head of security.
The head of security. Wesley goes to see his mom, Dr. Crusher, and he's doing his tractor beam thing here, and I think she kind of figures out that he's not quite right, but it's sort of like implied that I don't know, like Captain Picard calls and she gets distracted and whatever, and he goes, "Why is it so hot in here?" And she's kind of looking at him like, not quite.
Has he had a drink?
Is Guinan giving him Aldebaran whiskey up in 10 forward? I don't know. And this is the scene here with Tasha. She's kind of going around the corridors.
Oh, but she's got the wiggle in this walk now. Like
she's got that walk. Like she's moving the hips back and forth, and she was really going for it here. And she finds this guy, whoever he is. She's kissing him and giving him the whole thing. Dad, what do you think of all this part with Tasha Yar?
For sure.
Yeah,
I was kind of took me back a bit there.
Did it? Okay. And then on the bridge, they're talking about this. This is what they're talking about the star, like the star is going to eventually explode or is going to come out.
This is where we learn there's another problem.
There's this other problem that this star is going to explode and destroy them, but they could easily get out of the way in time. It would not. They wouldn't even have to go to warp. It would be so easy to avoid this.
That's right. We just
on
impulse engines.
Right. So let's get that. So then we get this whole thing here in engineering where we meet this character, this lieutenant commander who
Sarah
I can't remember.
McDougal.
Sarah McDougal, Chief Engineer McDougal. I don't know if she's ever in an episode after this.
Nope.
But no, right? This is it.
Yep.
Along with her assistant chief engineer, his name escapes me too, but it's Japanese, I believe. And so he, she gets called away, but she thinks by Captain Picard to the bridge, so she leaves, and then here comes old Wesley Crusher. Clearly, he's been in. He rigged this whole thing. He infects this assistant chief engineer guy.
He smiles a lot.
He smiles a lot, and he's somehow able to take over this entire engineering section, which is kind of incredible. Here on this galaxy, let's see what this galaxy class starship can do. With this world class.
He's brilliant, Dave. So
he's a prodigy. I know.
Yeah.
I know. Okay. But it seems like this engineering staff might also be dopes. Could that also be true?
that's why they got fired.
Yeah. Let's get Geordi down there. But this is before all that. And so the chief engineer McDougal, she goes to the bridge and says, "Captain, I'm here to see you." He's like, "I didn't call you for anything. I want you in the engine room in case we need to run away." And then we get this announcement from Wesley Crusher. Let's have just a quick listen to that.
Attention, all decks, all divisions. Effective immediately, I have handed over control of this vessel to Acting Captain Wesley Crusher.
Acting Captain?
Thank you, Captain Picard. Thank you. And with that order dawns a brave new day for the Enterprise.
It's a brave new day.
You know what? Even if he's in under the influence of this virus or whatever it is, it's ballsy. He's in there, man. Like, he can take this. He's got some confidence, this kid.
Right. Earlier in the conversation with Geordi, he's talking about I'm not allowed on the bridge, but I know how everything works. I already understand everything there is to know about the bridge and engineering and how brilliant it is. I guess that this episode does a lot to establish that about Wesley, because he's not too involved in the pilot, other than he falls in the holodeck and gets
well. I think this made him feel older or look older or something. A little more. I don't want to say mature, but he certainly has a lot of knowledge.
Right. He shines a bit more in this one.
Sorry, that engineer or whatever he is, his name is Jim Shimoda.
Yeah, here he is. And apparently everyone's been, so you can see here that the infection is widespread, that a lot of the crew are affected. I get the impression it's almost 100%. It seems like everybody but Worf gets infected by the end of this episode. And they are bending the knee here to their acting Captain Wesley Crusher. They're all about him. They think he's the best. Coming out here, we see that Wesley's also used his tractor beam to create a force field to lock himself inside of the area. Now, why he can't just be beamed out, it's never explained. But that's how it goes.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
They can't get around his force field. So I think they send. Is this where Data's like, well, there is that limerick. Have you ever heard that thing? Because I think he wants security there.
There was a young lady from Venus whose body was shaped like a...
Captain to security, come in.
What do you think that line was?
I'm not sure. I never got to hear it, Dad. So
In fact, Data, I'm not used to seeing Data so innocent or whatever. I'd love to rewatch this. I want to see the progression of Data, because they're focusing a lot on him, just like
he's
not
just
knowing a lot. Yeah, very.
But he's at this point,
childlike.
Data has been living amongst humans and has been in Starfleet for a while.
I know.
For decades actually. So it's but he's kind of like a blank slate at this point. They're leaning into that. And so he said, go find Tashiar. We need Tashiar to get Wesley out of engineering is the goal here. And here's Tasha. Denise Crosby, she was doing a lot of sit-ups, it seems like, back in these days. She's coming with the abs and everything else. Dad, what do you think of this whole scene with Tashiar and Data?
Well, yeah, that was kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that familiar with these characters that much, but yeah, she kind of came onto him.
Did she
Kind of.
ever?
So this outfit that she's wearing is very original series
Yeah.
Mhm.
esque.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I mean, Ted, you remember all those nice outfits we used to watch, and that you didn't see in Next Gen very much after this.
I don't think
Yeah.
I've seen a skirt quite like with that particular waistline. That's pretty unique?
Deep cut.
A deep cut, is that what you refer to that as? Yeah, it's just, I don't know how functional it is, but
Fully
It's-
functional.
it's fully functional, as she's going, she also has this curl on her hair,
Cowlick?
a cowlick. Is that what that is? It's
On purpose.
is she like in the Little Rascals here or something?
So my question here, of course, is the controversy. Like, at what point was Data infected? Because he knew she was under the influence.
Right.
When was Data infected?
In the next couple seconds here.
You think
but
it was before he followed her into the room for sure?
it's in that process, because he says he's fully functional, but he seems like he's up for this. So because the controversy is, she's intoxicated, he's not. What are the ethics of this? Why are his ethical subroutines not kicking in? But I never
Eventually
really.
he gets infected, but I don't know if I think they did the little noise around here. So I'm like, yeah, he was all in before he
was all in before
that
he's
infection.
infected, but
Yeah.
so he's all down for this before any of that happens. And he's programmed in multiple techniques.
I am programmed in multiple techniques, a broad variety of pleasuring.
And Tasha's all about it. And Data didn't seem like the ethics were bothering him. This does happen in bars all the time. I don't know what to tell you. So,
but then he is a machine. So, like, does he really have a motive or a will? Like, I kind of looked at this like he was just a very advanced toy.
Right. It's not like he has even though he can have sex, it's not like he has a sex drive here.
No.
Right.
So that's why I thought, like, is he taking advantage of her? I'm like, I don't even know he's capable of that because he doesn't really have his own motive. Other than the fact that he just wants to, I don't even know if he's announced it yet, but how he wants to get human experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if he's been introduced to that yet.
Yeah, we were last week.
Yeah.
He does say that in the pilot. He give up all of his superior android abilities just to be human. And I think he looks at this as almost like an experience, like just a life
telling
experience.
a joke.
Yeah. And I guess it's not even really. Did he have to say later that this is the only person he was ever with before? He had never really done this before.
Yeah, I think this was.
So I don't.
Yeah.
And they never touched it again after this.
No.
Only
Just
when we.
Oh no, it's not true. What about Jenna?
Who? Oh, his other girlfriend.
Yeah,
I don't know. Were they intimate?
I think you have to assume they were. I mean, we'll get to that at some point.
Well, what about the Borg Queen?
That was emotional though.
Yeah, but she said, when was the last time you used your abilities? And he said like 7 years ago, which refers to Tasha or something like that at that point. Right. So anyway, so we don't know if that other girlfriend in him, but it seems like no. Anyway, so Data and Tasha go off to have their rendezvous. And meanwhile, in engineering, of course, this assistant chief engineer is taking all the isolinear chips out, and he's making a little house of cards out of it. I don't know. It's kind of funny.
Jenga.
He's making a Jenga. The force field's still up here. Picard can't get in. And Riker and the chief engineer, McDougal, are trying to get into the thing. Just then, Troy shows up. She's got the drunkenness virus. And, she's here for Bill, her good old lover, Bill, as he'll be referred to in this one episode. And he basically, I guess, he touches her here, the Imzadi thing, and he kind of carries her off to sick bay. And in sick bay, where Geordi has now been strapped down, which might have been
Call.
might have been a good precaution in the first place. But anyway, that's going. She gives him the cure that McCoy had developed, but it doesn't work. It's not quite the right formula. Riker brings in Troy, and then he goes to see Dr. Crusher, and for whatever reason he has to touch Crusher, which in this moment he can't go, "Hey, doctor." And then
It seems similar to this in the Naked Time too, so maybe that's what they're doing.
Just call back to that.
Yeah.
And she's like, you touched me, and Troy touched you. Like, I'm gonna be all infected. And it seems like Crusher's the only doctor on the ship at this point, because she's
Norman had asked, "Where's Dr. Solar?" Dr. Solar didn't come into play, I think, until season 3.
Yeah, I just feel like in this episode, the ship feels like there's maybe 50 people on this ship at this point.
Maybe they don't have the full complement yet because it is so new, and they're just trying to pick people up.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe it's kind of a skeleton crew at this point. And they just have enough to go. So, but now they know they're drunk. And Riker says, "It doesn't matter if I'm drunk. I have to try to get into engineering." And basically, he kind of goes for it, knowing that he's kind of got this affliction. For whatever reason, Riker is the least affected in the episode.
Yep.
He can handle his booze.
He can handle it. Yeah,
you think Picard could, with all that Chateau Picard that he likes to drink there, but not so much. So he's pleading with Wesley, give me back control of the ship. He's like, "Why don't you just tell me what orders to do, Captain, and I'll do it for you." He's very earnest as Picard tries to negotiate with him. This con officer also is infected and leaves in the middle of this scene.
Did he just get up and go, or
he just gets up and leaves? Yeah, as they're going here, it goes back and forth. Yeah, the sun is coming. Yeah, this guy just goes, and now it's just Worf is kind of left to pull everything together because nobody wants to touch Worf. Is that why he never gets infected? I'm trying to think about what makes him so immune to this, other than being a Klingon. So they're trying to get into Wesley. And this whole scene here where Riker's trying to help get in, but on the other hand, I'm like, "You're drunk, Riker. What are you doing? And you might be infecting the chief engineer McDougal in this process, who might be your only Crusher. You can see that she the effects of it are starting to affect her. She's getting all hot behind the hair. She's trying to put her hair back. Calling up. Oh yeah, and this is where Data shows up, all drunken. What did you guys think of drunk Data?
This is. I again, we didn't know Data at this time so much, so it's not. I mean, out of character, yes, it was, but Brent Spiner is fantastic.
He's great. Brent Spiner's great. I on rewatching, I was like, he's a little more emotional.
He's a little too human, but yeah.
But what if somebody without emotions could get drunk? What would that be like? And I don't know if they had it fully established here that Data didn't have emotions exactly. I don't. That's not necessarily.
It looks like he has emotions there.
It does.
Yeah.
It does feel like that. And Picard's like, "You can't get drunk." He's like, "I have pores. I have skin. I can get this." Does that feel like a stretch?
On your leak?
Leak? Yeah. Oh, that was what? Where did I pull that clip? I was like, prick me. Do I not leak? So
that's
great.
That's that line. It's because he delivers it so well. It's.
Well, and Brent Spiner was coming off of Night Court at this point. He had been on that show quite a bit, so his comedic chops are really strong. He knows how to do all that. Anyway, then Dr. Crusher shows up. "Captain Picard, could I please talk to you in your office?" Which is where Picard goes, and I guess Crusher's here to take off things and get into it. This is the first time we ever see I think the Ready Room. I think no, we saw it in the pilot, but very quickly. And yeah, she's like, "Well, I do need something for you, but we don't have time for that, Captain." And then he starts. They start getting a little close here. We get that horny laugh. And this is kind of the most flirting that they'll do for a few seasons, really.
I was that close to Patrick Stewart. Looked him right in the eye, just like that.
Didn't you
Was
grab
very
his bum?
excited
Did he
after I
give
grabbed
the
his bum.
giggle, Jane? Did he give that giggle?
No, but I did get eye contact pretty close like that after I accidentally touched his bum. But
Yeah.
yes,
And Callie met Dr. Crusher, Gates
Yeah.
McFadden.
Yes, she did.
And Adam was there too, I guess.
Yeah, in the
So-
background.
Yeah, he was around. He was an extra in that one, but yeah. But and she even goes as far, Crusher. She opened in the turbo, in the doorway of the ready room. She like starts unzipping her uniform and says, "I'm a woman. I have needs. I need a man."
A man.
Yeah, a man.
man.
Yeah, but we don't have time for that. Anyway, and like,
Worf.
yeah, and this little wave that he gives Crusher all the way up. There's some funny stuff in this,
It's very high school, yeah.
Yeah. See, I gotta look tough in front of Worf. And then Worf, I think, calls Riker to say, "Yeah, Captain Picard and Dr. Crusher are drunk. Things are getting worse." So Riker runs off as we see that this star is coming at them. It blows up, and now there's sort of like this projectile meteorite thing coming at them. A new problem.
Stellar, what was it called? Stellar something.
Yeah, like fragment or something.
Stellar fragment, that's right.
And
I wonder if the writers just didn't know what to do with Worf at this point. That's why there's not much for him. Like they didn't kind of know.
Worf was added very late. I think they realized that they needed like somebody on the bridge who could just kind of fill in wherever, and that's kind of what he is in this first season. He's just kind of like he can be at this station, he can be at that station. He's sort of just
floater.
He's a floater. He's a yeah, exactly. He's the rover of the team.
But you're right. You know what? He doesn't leave the station, and nobody does touch him. So that most of them are getting infected as soon as they leave their post and they go to do something else. So I think that's why.
Shelter in place, Callie.
Shelter in place. Maybe it's the way he smells. An earthy, peaty aroma with a touch of lilac. So yeah, this thing is coming at them. It's aimed right at them too. Like they can't even move, and they can't move because Crusher has taken over the engine room. We need to move here, Wesley, and everything else. He said, "Tractor beams are my specialty. Let me get my tractor beam." But then McDougal gets in, and it's all like, "These are isoleader chips."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She's like,
"They're not toys.
They're not toys." Assistant chief engineer. Ah,
Jim. Damn it, Jim.
And so they can't do anything. They have to basically put all these computer parts back in place. It seems like they could have at least separated the saucer section, but maybe not. Just look at Riker, Picard, and Data there.
Lounging.
Yeah, you're going a little crazy here.
Dave's right back in his chair.
Yeah,
he's had a good day.
I mean, Riker sits like that a lot, anyways. But yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd time. You see Riker in the captain's chair and Picard not, next to him. Right? It's kind of unusual. What are we supposed to do here? We need to put all the chips back. Data can do it. Wesley says he can put all the chips back. So Riker grabs Data and like sort of drags him down to engineering. Picard barely knows what's happening at this point. Yeah, they have that Tchaikovsky ship in the tractor beam.
Tsiolkovsky.
Yeah, I'm not so good with the Russian. Yeah, they kind of just, they put Data to work as he started. Dad, what did you think of this part with Data putting all the chips back really fast?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, but in the meantime, this big golden asteroid thing is coming at them, whatever the hell it is. The stakes are coming. Star fragment, I guess. And he's working away. And like they say, Data, are you going to finish in time? He goes, nope. I will finish just a little too late, for this will be ready. This is where Riker does, it's seeming like it hits him here more. Like, even though he was touched by Troy a while ago, this seems to be the moment. I don't know if it's because he touched Data, that this comes at him more. And then in sick bay.
Adrenaline's running off or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems. Yeah, maybe the adrenaline is kicking out. Back in sickbay, Dr. Crusher is doing something, and this whole scene here with Picard and Crusher is hilarious. Where he's like, "Hello, Beverly." She's like, "Jean-Luc." He's like, "You will call me Captain." Well,
I like
you
the
will
little
call me.
hop he did coming into the room.
Oh yeah, the little hop was hilarious. Yeah, like there's some. Like they were having some fun. And you can see like this chemistry between the cast members was kind of really established early in this, as they were trying to have some fun here. I think it was kind of smart for them to go here. And then she's, is like, "What were you working on?" And she can't even remember. She's like, "Oh yeah, Geordi. I need to take this thing, the cure. I was working on the cure for Geordi." Meanwhile, Data's working away.
But that like before, you can see that she's struggling so hard to get this done. She knows she has to.
Yeah, she knows she has to. She's all there is. Right,
she's getting so distracted. Yeah.
And she gives it to Geordi, and he's like, "Wow, what was in that? My head feels a lot better." He's doing great. She gives it to herself. She gives it to Captain Picard, and she kind of sends him on his way with a hypo spray because the effects don't quite go away instantly. It takes feels like at least a couple minutes for them to dissipate. The pressure's on. Things are about to go crazy here. Picard gives it to McDougal, who I didn't even think was infected, but maybe she was.
I don't think she was.
Yeah, but just in case she was,
Yeah.
gives it to Data, gives it to Riker, and then meanwhile, Wesley, who doesn't get his shot till the end of this, he's like, "No, we can totally do something here with the tractor beams, and we can buy ourselves a few more seconds using the Tchaikovsky sort of as a way of like pushing themselves away before the engines come on board." And that's what happens. But of course they lose the ship in the process. Exciting thing. Boom. But it's still coming at them. And at the last minute, they get their engines back and they get out of the nick in time,
And they warp away rather than impulse.
Yeah, which just seems excessive, but sure, it's fine.
I'm still getting out of it, Jane.
Yeah.
Just get the hell out of there the quickest way possible.
That was worse.
Yeah.
Right. It seems like they only had to move slightly forward.
Kilometer away.
Yeah, to get out of the way. And then, the ending of the episode is here as they're sort of handing out the cure to the different staff members. We see here that Picard and Riker says to Picard, "I think Wesley Crusher deserves a mention in our log." Doesn't he? I guess so. Number one. We can do that. And Picard, his dissatisfaction with Wesley Crusher here is evident on his face, but he also is kind of impressed with what he does here at the end. Because I think Wesley Crusher is supposed to be like 16 Data with the handshake. And then go back to the bridge. It's kind of like, so we get sort of our original series ending here, Dad, where they're all on the bridge. They're all chatting up about it. Well, except first we have this moment here with Tasha and Data.
Did they play that music? I can't remember if they play that sort of weird, that.
Maybe, yeah. It's kind of sort of like that. It's kind of whimsical, right? It's like
when you look at somebody and there's a look and you can't talk about it.
Yeah, and then she's like, she kind of doesn't do with it, and then she kind of works up to it, and she just goes up to Data, here, and she's just like,
Data, I'm only going to tell you this just once. It never happened.
And he's just like, huh? Okay.
I was there. It did happen.
I programmed in a broad variety of pleasuring. But anyway, this is they're going off here and they have their sort of on to our next adventure we go.
Head warp factor 3.
Warp factor 3. They warp. They fly off into the night, and that is the end of that episode. So, I like coming back to this. It's completely fine. It's as good as some of those Enterprise episodes we watched, Adam, or
it's way better. Going back now, it's better. Like I enjoyed this episode a lot, and considering it again was the second episode, it was fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm going to give this a good rating.
Yeah, but first, how about some trivia and facts?
I've got lots.
All right.
Okay. All right. In one scene, Data tries to lean on the non-existent furniture after his conversation with Captain Picard about being fully functional and ends up falling on the floor. This was actually not in the script, but was added by Brett Spiner on the set. Director Paul Lynch was pleased with Brett's idea and left in the final cut. Gene Roddenberry had hoped to recycle scripts from the original series with bigger effects budget. Fan reaction to remakes made the episodes a little bit, anyway, not as reactive. So he had to scrap the plans and remake more episodes as openly as The Naked Now, which was a remake of The Naked Time. So this was in his plan to do more of this, but it didn't work out.
I'm trying to figure out. Well, the thing I'm most curious about is why DC Fontana needed to take her name off of the episode.
I'll tell you in a second. I got that. All right. So this is the only appearance of Lieutenant Commander Sarah McDougal as Chief Engineer. After this episode, Lieutenant Commander Argyle, Lieutenant Logan, and Lieutenant Commander Leland T. Lynch all served as engineers.
Right.
Chief engineers.
I think they tell us later that there's more than one chief engineer. Like there's kind of
Not Ensign Lynch though.
not Ensign Lynch.
Not Ensign Lynch, no. As described by Riker in When No One Has Gone Before, the Enterprise D had several chief engineers before Geordi LaForge assumed the role in season 2.
He can do the job of many.
Yep. When Troy heads to engineering, she refers to Riker as Bill. This is the first time in the series anyone ever called the second in command that particular variation of his name. However, Troy calls him again later, Bill, in the episode called Haven in 1987,
which is later this season.
Okay.
It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same first. So it was a first thing, and then they gave up on the Bill, and he's always Will after that.
Yeah. Tsiolkovsky is named after Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, a Russian-Soviet rocket scientist and the pioneer of rockets.
Space.
Astrophysics.
Thank you. According to Will Wheaton and Jonathan Frakes, Jonathan Frakes sharply criticized this episode, going so far as calling it the worst episode he ever did, saying he felt totally ashamed by it.
Who? Will Wheaton did?
No, Jonathan Frakes did. Will Wheaton told the story.
Will said this about, Jonathan.
Maybe that's why Jonathan Frakes didn't appear intoxicated, because he wasn't into it.
Perhaps.
Yeah, he downplayed that part.
Yeah.
He changed his mind later.
Yeah, while recalling the first season at the time of the end of the series, Frakes noted that how much greater the chances they took they did at the beginning of the show than they did in the end of the series. In contrasting Skin of Evil, which he described as absurd, and one of the season's misses, he described this episode as great. So he definitely changed his mind.
He came around on it.
Yeah, and I bet you if you ask them today, they all laugh about it because it's great.
that little hop alone that Picard does is worth it for me.
Yeah. Okay, so right at DC Fontana removed her name from the credits because the staff had significantly changed and rewritten her script. She's credited only under the pseudonym Michael Bingham.
Michael Bingham. J. Michael Bingham.
Yeah. During the scan of the records, we quickly see a parrot, with a barely distinguishable human head, which was actually Gene Roddenberry's head, on a perch wearing a Starfleet uniform.
Hold on a second. We have a special guest interruption here. So I just want to bring him in here.
Oh gosh,
it's Worf, son of Moke, bane of Jody.
Where is Jody?
Jody's not on the panel this week.
Platok.
Worf, are you drunk?
He is drunk. Sorry about that, Adam. But Worf was just here to mess with Jody.
Anytime Gavin Worf shows up, I'm happy. Okay. Where was I now? It's being rumored that Yara's seduction of Data was established to establish that her as being heterosexual, to quell any speculation of the character was a lesbian.
I didn't even cross my mind, but okay.
Maybe, who knows? The crew's quarter from the Tsiolkovsky, in the crew's quarter of the Tsiolkovsky, a chair from Star Trek 1966 can be seen.
Oh. Blew the dust off that, just the dust all over it.
Yeah, the Tsiolkovsky was also actually was the Grissom from Wrath of Khan.
Oh, so we had seen that class before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
yeah. Oh, you mean, but the Grissom is
not Wrath of Khan.
Searcher Spock.
Searcher Spock, right? On the
Okay.
similarities between this episode and Naked Time, and director Paul Lynch commented, the same basic story holds true in that the Enterprise contacts something from another ship and the crew begins to change. But because it's a new case, they change accordingly. Everybody drops the way they are and who they are and let their inhibitions come out. I'd say the Naked now is slightly more comic than the original. In that show, Sulu picked up a sword and started running around with it. In this, it's a much more character change in the way of romance and strangeness leading to humor. It's all quite subtle compared to the original because the original episode was quite heavy-handed, like most of the original episodes were.
Yeah, I'd say this has more fun with the whole theme. Yeah, you don't like, even though this thing is coming at them, I don't really feel like there's a lot of danger here at any point.
The limerick in which Data quotes was written by Star Trek 1966 writer David Gerrold. The complete limerick can be found in the third book of his War Against the Chitor series, A Rage of Revenge.
Yeah.
Deanna Troy's clothing changed from the blue skirt stripe uniform she wore in the encounter at 4 Point to the gray jumpsuit she would wear for the remainder of the first season.
Right.
She's in the blue dress.
She was.
She goes through a few different dresses and different outfits, but yeah, she doesn't wear the Starfleet uniform again until Chain of Command, when Jellicoe makes her put it back on, basically.
But she wore the blue like flowy dress a lot.
She did, and she had like a few different of those like jumpsuits with the different colors and things like that.
Yeah, my mother was a site counselor and is an RN, and she would always wear her clothing to work rather than a nurse's uniform. And the way she explained, and this is growing up, and she explained it to me, is like you're trying to make the patients feel a little more relaxed because you're not in a clinical uniform. So I always bought that and thought that was the reason that Troy wore the normal clothing.
Yeah, I just thought she wants to be a little bit more approachable. I never really had a huge problem with it, but obviously a lot of others did.
Well, Captain Jellicoe sure did.
Captain Jellicoe, he runs a different kind of ship.
Yep.
Yeah.
4-shift rotation.
Yeah.
Is there a problem with Delta shift? Sorry.
Well, we just don't have time, Dave. We don't have time to get it together. Okay, this is the only episode in the series where Picard refers to Beverly Crusher as Bev, although Troy would refer to her as that in Sub Rosa.
Oh, a man, or a ghost.
Oh man, I can't wait to talk about that episode.
No,
3 years from now, but
it's like 3 or 4 years from now. Yeah, we'll get to that one. Any more?
I'll just wrap it up with one more. When Riker and Medulla are trapped in Engineer, Riker refers to the tool as a sonic driver. This may be a reference to Doctor Who's sonic
screwdriver. Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And before we get into our ratings, Dad, I wanted to ask you one thing. So I know you're not you famously love the original series, and you've never watched much of these other Star Treks, really, but I thought that this one might be a fun one for you. I guess, how does this show compare for you to original series? What's
It's very similar. Yeah, this one was very similar. It's the closest one I think I've seen.
Right. And does it make you want to watch more of them?
If they have some type of original series kind of feel, yeah.
Do you like these characters, or do you find them just too different from the ones you like? Like,
no, I don't mind the characters.
Okay, but
they're good characters.
They're good characters. They got
Yeah.
weird aliens, things like that.
Well, I don't know how many aliens. I haven't seen too many aliens yet.
Oh, there'll be some weird ones. Wait till you see the one that Fleetwood Mac played, or that Mick Fleetwood.
Fleetwood.
He played a big fish man once.
Oh yeah.
So we'll break all that down. But yeah, I personally think this is maybe the best Star Trek of them all. I hope he wore clothing to work. Yeah. With Jim the Casual. All right. Well, on that note, guys, let's get into our ratings and put some numbers up on this episode. Sorry, I know it's a little hard to see because it's so wide with the amount of panelists we have. I'll just hide our friends here for a minute and those who aren't present tonight. But maybe we start with you, Dad. What do you want to give this rating out of 10?
Give it a 7, Dave. It's a solid 7.
It's a solid 7. Oh. 7. Okay, Jane, what's your rating?
I think it's an 8.
An 8
I like
from
that.
Jane. Okay, and Adam?
Yeah, I'm going to give this an 8.5. This was much more enjoyable than I remember it being.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
How about you, Callie?
I do an 8.
An 8 out of 10 from Callie. And that leaves me here tonight. And so I liked this as much as last week, you know, maybe more because it didn't have some of the I'm going like 9.2. I like it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm going big numbers here. So 8.1 is our average right now. This has a 6.5 score on IMDb. So you know, it's not as liked as much as Encounter at Farpoint, but it seems to be liked more than our next episode, where we're going to be talking about the episode called Code of Honor next week. And Code of Honor, not a beloved episode. So we'll for that one, we're going to have myself, Jaemeel, Jody, and Kevin to break that one down.
Dodge that bullet.
Yeah. This is famously Davin's most hated episode, and not just Davin, many others.
I will agree with Davin. I'm going to give you my rating next week, of course.
Yeah. Well, it's what, and the reason it's kind of, you know, disliked as much as it is because it made there was this alien race which they basically just played all by black people and African, like in this African garb, and it's kind of racist, not kind of really, but you know, it's it hasn't I don't even know if it was liked at the time. I don't think so, but it's sort of like the most disliked episode by some. Anyway, so that's next episode. I know they were gonna like it as much as Naked Now, but you know, hey, they can't all be winners.
No, but there are a lot of good ones in the first season. Like the more, like when I was looking through this with you, going, "Oh, which one do I want?" You know, to be on. I love the first season of Trek still. Like,
well, you know what, you're right, Jane, because I had a hard time ranking. I'd like to talk about that one. I'd like to talk about that one. Oh, that was fun. You know, but
I think Code of Honor. I think I might Angel one. I think I did choose that one, but just because it's so bad.
Well, my dad will be back in 2 weeks. Dad, you are going to be conscripted for the Last Outpost, which is the introduction of the Ferengi.
Okay.
So we're gonna bring you in for that.
Human. I love how they get right in the screen. You know, like
yeah.
I'll bring my computer.
Yeah, bring your computer. Although the audio wasn't as bad as I feared tonight, Dad. So, but doesn't mean I want you to use a phone again. But it's we got through it for the most part here tonight. So I want to thank the panel. You know, want to thank everyone in the live comments. Tune in next week when we talk about Code of Honor. We'll see if it's an honorable episode, not so much, but you know, and we'll break that all down. Of course, last night we launched the Orville podcast here on the network. If you didn't check that out, Jody Simpson is the host of that show, and we were talking about the premiere of that episode, the premiere of that series called Old Wounds. That was a lot of fun to talk about. So we have those two now going Monday and Tuesday nights here on the network. We just wrapped Star Trek Discovery last Thursday, and coming on, I think it's July 1st, we're going to start on Star Trek Prodigy season 2, which is going to be coming out, and I'll be back with Davin and hopefully Jessica Chan to break all that series down. So lots coming up here on Live Long and Podcast. Of course, we have our affiliates in the United Federation of Podcasts, which we'll play out here at the end. But before we sign off, are there any final thoughts?
When's the Borg?
When's the Borg? Not
the
for
Borg
14
comes
years.
next season.
Oh, okay, that's next.
Oh
season.
yeah, we introduced them.
I liked the Borg when that came. That was good.
That was I remember that was a big deal. Like, you know, I remember even watching Best of Both Worlds. I think you were watching it that night. Yeah, like that cliffhanger and everything else. That
I went to see that at the Cineplex here on Brant. They had the Best of Both Worlds
live.
Yeah, like they had like a Saturday afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Showing of Best of Both Worlds. Like
I was with my aunt and uncle when it aired, and we were downtown Toronto eating Greek food, and we had to rush back up to my apartment in Richmond Hill to catch it.
Oh no! So no, not lot. Like it was only like 5 years ago that I went, or something like that. But it was, amazing on the big screen.
All right. Well, with that all said, we'll sign off for tonight. Thanks to Callie, my dad, Jane, and Adam, and all the people in the comments, and to Worf for making a cameo. And with that said, we'll sign off for tonight. And all hear this. I know I played it once, but I like it too much. Here we go.
Attention, all decks, all divisions. Effective immediately, I have handed over control of this vessel to Acting Captain Wesley Crusher.
Acting Captain?
Thank you, Captain Picard. Thank you. And with that order dawns a brave new day for the Enterprise.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.